Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Burlington Conservation Commission meeting. This meeting of the commission will be held in person at the second floor meeting hall at Town Hall. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technical problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person attendance versus virtual attendance accordingly. All right, so we'll do a roll call. Please say either present or here when I call your name. Commissioner Ed Laturco.
Here.
Commissioner Rob Sheehan.
Here.
Commissioner Kent Moffett.
Here.
Commissioner Bill Boyven, absent. Commissioner Indra Deb, absent. And Commissioner Sarah Walensky.
Present, barely.
All right. All right, she is here. And for the record, the chair, Larry Cohen, is here as well. All right. Next is public comment. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to make a comment about something not on the agenda? We can give you a few minutes if that's the case. No. Okay, the record should show no one is here for public comment. Next, we have approval of minutes for for June 27th, 2024. We have draft minutes, and we do have them. Is there any comment or discussion?
We had not received any comments.
No, Bill had a fix and I did it.
Oh, sorry, Bill had a minor fix.
All right, so minor fix.
Eagle Eye Bill always catches the spellings and typos and things.
All right, therefore, is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 27th, 2024?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? 5-0-0. Okay. Next, we have draft minutes of July 11th, 1 month ago, for 2024. Again, anything needed to be discussed? All right, could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor? 5-0-0. Okay, next, we have a request for certificate of compliance for erosion and sedimentation control permit. It's 25 and 27 Blue Sky Drive. It used to be called Network Drive, but it has been renamed by the Nordblom Company, and my understanding is that this has been continued.
It has been continued again, yes. They still
Okay.
have a little bit of external work to do.
All right,
they
so
have
no
more.
motion is required, so we'll just state that the certificate of completion item agenda will be continued to September 12th, 2024. All right. Next, we're down to item 5A. Notice is given that the commission will hold a public meeting during which time will act upon a request for determination of applicability filed by Edeline Niscimento for the construction of a shed within a locally regulated riverfront area in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands. The property is located at 172 Wynn Street in Burlington. The commission will thereafter issue a determination. The application's being heard under state law, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, which is the Wetlands Protection Act, and Burlington's local bylaw, Article 14. You can obtain a copy of the application, if you would like, by writing to conservation@burlington.org. Is there anybody in the audience for 172 Wynn Street? You can take a seat right there, if you'd like. Both of you can take a seat. All right, how are you folks tonight?
Good.
Okay, the way this works is you introduce yourself, you say your address, and then you say as much or as little as you want about the shed. Okay? So please, go ahead.
172 Wayne Street,
Sure.
Edilene Nascimento.
Okay.
My name is Fernanda Silva, and I'm be doing the translation from English to Portuguese.
All right, that's great. Good to see you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do you want to say anything about the shed?
Não, você não precisa.
Não sei. Tem que falar o quê?
Não precisa. Se você for falar o máximo que você quiser. It's up to you.
You don't have to say anything.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm done, she says.
Oh, my God.
That's fine. All right. Eileen or Lucy, you want to give us a rundown?
Yeah, it'll be brief. We were just alerted to the fact back in May that a shed had gone up at this property without anybody contacting conservation. It's very close to wetlands and to a regulatory stream back there. We wrote a couple of letters, but it turns out Edeline was away, so she didn't get them initially. And when she came back, she did make contact with us, and she submitted a request for determination of applicability retroactively for the shed. We went out there yesterday. We could see it is really quite close to the wetland, but on the positive side, it's just on sonotubes. So it's raised up maybe, I don't know, at least 10, I didn't measure, but at least 10 inches off the ground. So it itself isn't going to be flooded. It is close to the wetland, but it's already there. It's not really particularly doing any harm. My recommendation would be that you let this one go, but ask her to do a little bit of cleaning in the wetland where there's a lot of, some of the debris from the treated wood, the offcuts, and the forms from the concrete were thrown back there. And there's quite a lot of lawn clippings and all of those balls from just a game, that they could all be tidied out of the wetland. That's my recommendation.
Okay, let's see if any of the commissioners have any questions for anybody. Kent, do you have any questions?
Ela vai limpar amanhã.
Very straightforward.
Rob?
No. Yeah, it looks like the shed itself is sort of conservation-wise, sort of not a
All right, Ed?
I think just cleaning up, like Eileen was saying,
Lá embaixo também.
for the most part, is all that really has to be done.
All right. Sarah?
Same here. The construction debris were removed and
Limpar toda a
some of the
sujeira.
cut material laying in the wetland, that would be enough for me.
Tem materiais lá, vai tirar.
Sério?
Eileen, is this in floodplain at all?
This one is not in floodplain.
All right.
We could double check it, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
All right, so it's not an issue regarding the floodplain elevation?
No, but even if it was, in this case, it is raised above it, and it's just on a tubes.
Wetland,
We would have to make another consideration for that, but
Yeah.
I'm not aware of it being floodplain.
Do we typically have a consistent policy about sheds, how close to wetlands?
Well, I mean, we have a 20-foot no disturb and a
Yeah.
40-foot no build. So typically, we would not allow it to be within the 40-foot no build at all. But I'm just saying that I don't really think it's necessarily warrants removing under the circumstances, but that's entirely up to you.
Right.
I mean, it is almost certainly within the 40-foot no build.
Sure.
Well, we didn't really measure exactly to the wetland, but it was fairly close. Yeah.
All right,
It is not a flood zone.
all right, so
Então eu,
I guess the consensus is that we're going to give you essentially what is called a negative conditional determination. And that means that usually there's a few things in there that we ask of you,
coisas que você vai ter que fazer.
but, but it's going to be approved,
Mas vai ser aprovado.
even though it's after the fact.
Mas depois do
The wetlands what you could really do for us, and we're asking you to do, is
Pedindo para fazer
clean up
é limpar
the wood in the wetlands,
todas as madeiras
okay,
wetland,
from construction.
da construção,
There's like these little balls or something that were plastic balls.
plástico.
Ball pit bowls?
Why don't you?
I don't see it.
Yeah, there was these little round balls
Tinha umas bolinhas redondas.
that were in the wetlands. They should be picked up
Né? Tem que pegar elas.
Okay.
right there,
Oh, my God.
okay? And there's, you know, some fallen branches that have been stacked up to the point where it's not good for the wetlands, the way it's stacked up. If a tree falls, that's okay.
Did you fall?
Yeah. Yeah, we know a tree fell, but there's also other branches and stuff that have
You
been,
want me to clean the tree too?
well, do we want her to remove the tree?
I think that would be up to her. I'm okay with it. It's not bothering us or the wetland.
Okay,
If it's
okay.
bothering her, she could,
Yeah, you can remove it if you want to,
Okay.
Se você-
but the stuff that's in the wetlands,
Mas tudo que está no wetland,
we're asking for you to remove,
está pedindo para você
Okay.
remover.
okay?
Okay.
All right?
Yes. Eu vou mandar o rapaz limpar essa semana.
She said she'll have the guy stop by to clean it this week.
That would be more than fine. Thank you very much.
Melhor, muito obrigada.
All right. So,
apparently I can override your share.
Eileen, we have a draft decision that we're going to review,
Uma decisão que a gente,
and then we're going to vote on
e
it.
aí a gente vai votar.
Okay.
So Eileen or Lucy will review it.
Sorry, we're both going to be sharing at different times, and we're trying to figure it out.
All
I
right.
have stopped, yes. Thank you very much.
Got to play nice now.
Ver que elas
Oh, my word,
vai ser
things,
feito,
another
e
thing.
você, eles vão votar, e se de acordo, você ganhou.
No, we're all good.
mais-
We're all fine.
mais a condição.
Okay.
Tá.
Okay.
All right.
Are we going too fast?
E a gente fica de...
Sorry.
Não, worries.
Well, I'm going to read out the determination. I am
Ela
going
vai
to do
ler
it kind
a
of fast.
determinação. Eu vou fazer um pouco rápido.
Well,
But-
go slow.
I'll go,
Yeah, please.
okay. All right, I will. So, the applicant retroactively proposed to install a 12 by 20-foot shed
Você fazer o
close to the tree line and an extensive wetland
da wetland,
that crosses this and neighboring properties.
perto da distância dos neighbors. Do-
Do vizinho. Okay.
I'm going to skip the filing history. The work was located within the 100-foot buffer zone
Dentro do 100 pés,
of bordering vegetated wetland
perto do wetland,
located across the middle portion of the property.
do lado do meio da propriedade.
It was also within the 200-foot
Estava
riverfront
dentro dos
area
200 pés, a área de 200 pés,
of a locally regulated unnamed
e
stream.
localizado perto de onde passa aquela porta lá atrás.
The commission is voting to issue a negative determination
Negativo
for this project at 172 Wind Street.
172 da Wynn Street.
This decision is only for work as outlined in the project description and not for any other work.
Que está aqui dentro do projeto e nenhum outro tipo de trabalho.
No removal of trees or shrubs or alteration of naturally vegetated areas is permitted by this decision.
Nenhuma remoção de árvores ou outras coisas que estão em pé é permitido dentro dessa permissão.
Okay.
All construction or demolition materials and excavated soil
E outras coisas tá?
shall be disposed of
Tem que ser tirado, removido,
off-site
tirado do local
legally.
legalmente.
Okay.
Legalmente.
Okay.
Okay. The applicant shall remove the lumber
Tem que
scraps
tirar
and concrete forms,
os concretos
grass clippings and balls
e as bolas e os galhos de
that have been dumped in and within 20 feet of the wetlands.
perto de 20 pés do wetland.
Okay, that's really the main one for us.
Essa é a minha-
No filling or grading on the property beyond
Não
what
pode
is
fazer
proposed
propriedade
for
além
this
do
work.
que foi determinado por esse trabalho.
Don't use any pesticides,
Não use
herbicides,
pesticides,
or fungicides within 100 feet of the wetland.
Em menos de 100 pés do wetland. Não pode
And-
criar coisas.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then the rest just says that
E o resto também.
commissioners or their
Os
agent may
commissioners
just go on site to make sure that
vão
that-
lá para checar se
that work as
realmente
described
fez
occurred.
E o que você fez, o que eles pediram.
Okay.
Então eles vão voltar.
Okay, so this is approving the project,
A gente está aprovando o projeto,
but it's minimal
mas
conditions,
com condições mínimas.
okay? And it's called a negative conditional determination.
Condição negativa de determinação.
Okay, so now we'll vote.
Então, nós
Is there any comments from the
tem
commission?
algum comentário do
You don't need a waiver, didn't you say there's like?
Oh, that's a good point. A waiver, I guess we should.
Okay,
A waiver for the shed within the 40-foot buffer. Let me add that. Sorry, I'm going too fast.
colocar waiver no shed.
Let me just add something in there. Thank you. That's a good point.
good catch. All right, okay, and could I have a motion to indicate the commission is waiving, which one are we waiving?
Well, let's just waive the 40-foot no build because I'm not sure about the.
Okay, the 40-foot no-build zone for a shed,
Você não podia ter.
one, because it's after the fact, already built, and two, because it's already elevated on sonotubes.
Segundo, que já foi elevada acima do que devia.
Just a question of the sonotubes, does that make a difference? In most sheds I know for like drainage, you're usually on cinder blocks, so they could.
Oh, well, as long as, I mean, if it was on cinder blocks, that would,
No, I know
would
sonotubes,
be
I've seen those
fairly
done before, they
okay
fill
as
in
well.
with concrete, but I was just curious, like, is that really
I mean,
matter?
just rather than sitting down on the ground and then being, with nothing able to get underneath, but little animals can get under, floodwaters can go under.
Yeah.
It's
actually better,
It's
probably.
better.
Yeah.
Either on sonotubes or blocks would be fine too.
Okay.
Just better than a solid.
No, I didn't know if that was, I don't know if that causes an issue. Most sheds I've seen are on cinder blocks for like floodplain, so I don't know if the
Which is
sonotubes.
okay too. No, not really. They're just pretty solid. They're just solid.
All right, is there such a motion
No both.
for 172 Wynn Street for a waiver of the 40-foot no-build zone as outlined?
40 pés de não fazer.
Second, all in favor? 500. All right, could I have a motion for a negative conditional determination for 172 Wynn Street for the construction of a shed
Da shed.
under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and the State Wetlands Protection Act? Is there a motion?
12 em Luton.
So move.
Second? All in favor? 500. All right. So basically,
Então, basicamente,
we are asking you to
pedindo para
remove the debris,
ver toda a sujeira
and then you're all set.
e aí você está ao certo.
Ok. Quantos dias que tem para limpar tudo?
How many days do I have so I can clean everything out?
Eileen, what would you,
Well, really, she's got 3 years. How about we,
how about sometime this month?
would she be able to get it done in the
Yes.
next 4 weeks?
Oh, não, he's can start because ele vai fazer no end of the week, no sábado.
Oh, yeah, he will start this weekend. She did have a question though. You did say move it, the debris legally. She wanted to know what you meant by.
Oh, it just means off-site in a legal manner, so like, don't throw it in somebody else's yard.
Okay.
Put it into a dumpster, just get rid of it properly is
Você
all.
joga fora da maneira apropriada, não vai jogar no quintal do outro, jogar
Oh,
para
não,
baixo.
não.
Will, is it likely to be, if we were to check it, say, at the beginning of September, would it?
Se a gente checar até no início de setembro, já tá bom para a gente passar lá?
Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
very
well, thank you, that's perfect. We'll check back in early
Então
September.
a gente checa no início de setembro.
All right, so I think we're all done. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado por vir.
We are allowed to leave or do we have to?
Yes, you are allowed
Yes.
to leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank-
And Fernanda, thank you for translating.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good to see you. All right, now we're on item 5B. Notice is given. The commission will hold a public meeting during which time we have a request for determination of applicability filed by Ebed Reyna for construction of a pool within a bordering land subject to flooding. It's located at 253 Middlesex Turnpike Extension in Burlington, Mass., and will thereafter issue a determination of applicability. The application's being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14. And again, the application, a copy of it's available by writing to conservation@burlington.org. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
John Luther, I work for Bonanno Construction, who was doing the excavating for the pool.
Sure.
The owners want to have a built-in pool in their backyard, And as Eileen mentioned, there's a floodplain not too far away, so we're proposing to put the pool in flush with the grass that's there currently. There's a couple little, there's a couple little divots here and there, but we'll make everything's got to be level and flat. Also, one notice that this project is going to be postponed till next year. The homeowners decided to hold off a little bit, and so we just figured while we already had all the information in and everything on the queue, we might as well just get it done.
Well, assuming it passes,
Yep.
you have 3 years anyway.
Okay, oh, good.
I mean,
good.
so-
That was one of the questions I was going to have, yeah.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
All right, so Eileen or Lucy, anything, comments on this one?
Well, this is one of the first projects for which we have started applying the preliminary FEMA flood maps. They've been out for a couple of years. They're not finalized yet. They're going to be finalized at probably the end of this year, at the beginning of 2025. But DEP has recommended that we do start actually applying them. So as John was explaining, the preliminary flood plain shows that the floodplain in that particular area is considerably more extensive than it used to be. And Mr. Rana's most of his yard is actually in the 1% floodplain, which means BLSF for your purposes. Mr. Luther and Mr. Rana said that they would put the pool in fairly flush. However, this is work in a resource area, so really it required a determination. Provided they do put the pool in flush and they're not filling floodplain, I don't have any issues with it. But that's up to you.
All right, let's see if there's any questions or comments. Ed,
Ned?
Sarah?
Is there any question of the water table being high in that area and you hitting it while you're excavating?
It's possible that it will be, that it is high. They have, I think the town's installed a permitted drain, drops into a catch basin out in front of their house to their septic system, they're not septic, sump pump pumps into that. So hopefully we won't get that low.
Do you sometimes have to dewater in order to do the work?
Yes, sometimes we do. We run it through hay bales and into that catch basin out front. We pipe it and
Is
run it.
that the proper way of doing it? Is that how they do it?
Definitely through hay bales.
Yeah.
John's done this before. I think we put in the draft, and if not, we will tweak it, that if dewatering is to happen, it should be with a plan, and it would be through hay bales, because you just want it filtered. But once it's filtered, it could go into the catch basin. So
Right,
yes,
I mean,
that would be okay.
it's a temporary thing anyway.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't dump mud into the wetlands, into the catch basins. Then we have to fix the catch basins, so
Got it?
Yeah,
we don't want to do that.
and that would be more expensive.
Exactly.
Okay, Rob, anything on this?
No.
Okay, and Kent?
It's just the grade. Eileen had already addressed that.
Is this the kind of pool that has going to have a backwash that has to be flushed somewhere?
I believe it's a salt water one, not a chlorine one.
So you don't need the flushing?
You don't need to flush it.
It's not like a diatomaceous earth.
I don't believe so. Yeah,
If you have a diatomaceous earth filter, you have to,
you got to backwash it.
you got to backwash it and,
Right.
you got to send it to the back of the yard somewhere or something.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's not an issue. I don't have anything else. Is there anyone else that has a comment on this? Then we have a draft decision. We'll review it and vote, I guess. All right. Eileen or Lucy, want to go through it?
Yeah, we're just swapping over the sharing again, that's all.
Sure. Oh, one question. Were we concerned about the roots of the trees and the pool moving as far away from that big tree as possible?
that is a
And
good
is that,
point.
maybe it's okay where it is?
Yeah, we didn't think we were going to have to take any, I think there's one tree, where the shed was, there's a tree right next to that, and the homeowners want to get rid of that tree, but everything else stays exactly like it is.
Wait, say that again? They didn't tell us they wanted to get rid of a tree. They were concerned about not damaging the tree. So we were
Right.
hoping it could be as far away
Yeah,
from the tree as possible.
We're going to try, but it's a possibility that that tree may be close, but we're going to do everything we can to keep away from it.
Was that big tree?
I think it was an oak, that nearest
Yeah,
one.
I think it
The
was-
big oak tree. So obviously, we talked to them about, when we were there, about how the construction can damage the roots if they go out that far.
Right.
Usually, they go out as far as the canopy? Is
Yeah.
that?
Right, yes.
Fairly,
Yeah.
So if you're beyond the canopy, chances are you're okay.
Yeah, we try not to do any damage to that, because then it's just more expense for us to have to take a tree down or do something else. We
Yeah,
try to minimize our
It caused
costs.
my tree to die.
We try to minimize our costs.
Sure.
His quote to us was, if it's going to damage the tree, the project is off. That's, I recall him saying
I
at least
thought
once.
so.
So,
Yeah, we're going to postpone it, they're postponing it for now, so it's. we'll see
But we
what
did
happens.
talk to him about shifting it slightly closer to the house,
Yep.
unless there's a rule in town about how close it can be.
Yeah, the building code requires it to be, they don't want it any closer than 10 feet from the house. So I think we had laid it out like at 15, but we can,
Yeah.
we try to give a little buffer, then we can squeeze back if we need to.
If you can squeeze it back a little, I think it'd be a little safer for that tree.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Okay. I think can review the draft?
sure.
Okay.
Okay, so Abidrana was the applicant. We referenced this proposed pool sketch and detail sheet and the FEMA comparison flood map, flood hazard document. The applicant proposed to install a 16 by 32-foot in-ground pool in existing lawn to be flush with the existing elevation. The work was located within bordering land subject to flooding, also known as the 100-year floodplain. The flood zone is associated with Vine Brook and a tributary to Vine Brook. The Commission is finding that the amount of BLSF fill from an in-ground pool would be de minimis and would not cause an increase in, nor will contribute incrementally to an increase in the horizontal extent and level of floodwaters during peak flow, provided the pool is installed to be flush with the existing ground level. If leveling is required, the installer shall adjust the depth of the excavated base such that the pool head is not above existing levels. Okay? And then the Commission is voting to approve this negative determination with conditions that are going to be summarized as only the work described, the project described above. Sediment barriers shall be installed across the lawn just to protect the houses around you, and shall be inspected by the Conservation Department. All construction and demolition materials and excavated soils shall be disposed of off-site in a legal manner. No excavated soil shall be used on site. No dewatering without approval of a dewatering plan by the Conservation Department. So that's where it'll come in, that they'll just run the hay bale plan by us if they find that they have to. No tracking of sediments onto public roadways shall be allowed. Keep the roadways clean, sweep them. No filling or grading of the property under this decision. All existing drainage patterns shall be maintained, so it has to be as flush as possible. And then the rest just says that we can come on just to inspect your erosion controls and make sure everything's going okay.
Just one comment. You
Yes.
mentioned about the tree that they just say they start digging. Do you need to make a note about that, even though it's a year out, but just to give you, like if there's some notification, like you say that there is a tree that will be disturbed, like they potentially would have to reach out to you? Like, or are you guys comfortable
I think we
with that?
should discuss that. If they're proposing to bring the pool back a little bit, it's likely that any disturbance is really only going to be to the outer edges of the roots, which could still damage the tree. Is that what you want us to say, or do you actually want me to just add in something that says, if you're proposing to remove any trees, then, you know,
Well, I think
like add a line about that?
I think what you said last would be good. If you're proposing to remove, you have to notify us.
Right.
Yeah, any work on the tree, I would talk to Eileen
Right.
about it anyways.
And then the other thing is, maybe we should at least have it on the document that the owner agrees to move the pool as close to the 10 feet as practical. Is that reasonable?
Yes, oh yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Where would that go? I'm just wondering where to put that part.
We can put it as a separate number.
Because we can move it a little further away from the property line also, and that'll get us out from under the tree also.
Right.
So, and pull it closer to the house and slide it over.
So put
I
it-
just got to be careful with the house and the drainage system in the house.
Right, that's right. Well, that's the thing, you don't know what you're going to find underground.
No, we don't. We find some good stuff, though.
Rocks.
No, the rocks are the easy part. We can use those.
Okay, the pool should be placed as far as possible from the oak tree directly behind, is that okay?
That's fine.
Sufficient? And then for any other proposed tree work, please contact conservation staff in advance. Is that okay?
Sounds okay to me. Is that okay with the commission? All right. All right.
Works.
All right, so given that, is there any comments from the commission? Hearing none, could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the pool project at 253 Middlesex Turnpike Extension under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and the State Wetlands Protection Act? Second?
Second.
All in favor? 500. We're all set?
Great, thank you very much.
I'm sending,
All right, thank you.
Have a great night.
Sure, you too. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks.
I wish you had, because Lucy had to tell me. Okay, this is.
Okay, we're now at item 5C.
I'll just wait till that goes over. I'll get back to that.
Notice is given, the commission will hold a public meeting during which time we'll hear a request for determination of applicability filed by NSTAR Electric Company doing business as Eversource. The commission will take information related to the remaining work in a project replacing switch structures with steel structures and installing fences within locally regulated riverfront area in the 100-foot buffer zone to stream bank and bordering vegetative wetlands. It's in the utility right-of-way near Wynn Street in Burlington. It's sort of off the end of Sierra Street as well, I believe. And the commission will thereafter issue a determination. The application is being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14, and a copy of this application is also available from conservation@burlington.org email. All right, is NSTAR here?
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? I'm online.
We can. Good evening.
Fantastic. Also with me is Matthew Devlin, Senior License and Permitting Specialist, and David Bierce, Project Manager, both with Eversource. My name is Dorothy Lawrence. I'm an Environmental Project Manager with VHB. I didn't know if you wanted me to share my screen or if you wanted to put up the environmental constraints map with the remaining construction on it.
That is up to you. What, do you want to just share and then you can be in charge of showing us? Or
Sure.
have it ready as well. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, if you want to put it up, that would be great. Just
Hopefully I do. Having said that, I have it ready. Hopefully I do.
if not, I can try on my end for sure.
Let's share this one and tell me if this is what you want me to share. All right.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so as was stated earlier, this is basically a resubmittal of a previous RDA. Back in 2021, we submitted the RDA for the replacement of 2 existing switches within the 100-foot buffer zone and the 200 riverfront area. These switches are newly designed and part of a pilot program, so this construction period sort of had this multi-step integration, which basically took a longer construction period than initially anticipated. Initially, construction was started back in 2023, and as far as completion, there is one of the 2 switches installed completely. The only thing remaining to do for that one switch is to remove the old switch and then restore it to vegetated state. I'm going to just give a brief overview of the remaining work, which this map depicts. So for the second switch, we have to install it in its entirety. So that includes the concrete foundation for the actual switch structure, the fenced-in yard, and then the gravel pad that it will be around the concrete foundations. In addition to that, the majority of the grading has been done, but they do need a level surface, so there'll be likely some spot grading and whatnot throughout that area just to make sure it's level for the installation of the switch. The conduit, the majority of the conduit has been installed, but they did stub it about 20 feet from the proposed switch, the S792 on that map there. So they do have to just put the rest of that conduit in and connect it to the switch that they'll be installing. The majority of that is going to be within the switch yard. so area that's sort of already part of that disturbed. Then the final components would be the 2 intermediate structures and also the access road to the switch. And that's pretty much a summary of the remaining work that's left. All the work is within the 100-foot buffer zone and the 200 riverfront area. There's no work within the wetland or the river proposed. Initially, when we did this work, one of the conditions was that the conservation agent had to inspect the erosion controls once they were placed prior to construction. That occurred with the previous agent. He came out, inspected the erosion controls, and approved their placement. We've maintained them throughout the entire life of the construction. Additionally, we added a orange high visibility fence around the priority habitat just to demarcate that area so that contractors know to avoid it. And that's essentially the gist of what we have left. We did submit the original RDA in 2021 and received a negative determination, and then we submitted an amendment in 2022, which was approved as well. And the 3 years is up as of September. In order to maintain coverage and stay within compliance, we're resubmitting the RDA to complete the final installation of the switch, the second switch. I didn't know if anyone had any questions.
Well, we'll see. We'll just hold that thought, we may.
Sure.
Eileen or Lucy, you want to give us?
Dorothy gave an excellent summary. This is really administrative because, as she explained, you went through all of this in 2021 and it was approved, and just because it's a new process, it's just taken, and there's just iterations of things to happen, it's just taken longer to get done than they
Oh,
expected.
did the 3-year expire?
The 3 years is about to expire, and there isn't an extension process for determinations, so I had to make her file a new application, but it's exactly as was approved, including that minor engineering change. I have no issue with it.
Okay. And we have been out there. I remember being out there at
Yep.
one point.
Oh, and Dorothy, correct me if I'm wrong, we're getting inspection reports every week, right?
Yeah, right now I think they're down to monthly when construction is in a sort of like hybrid or hibernating area. We tend to go to monthlies, but active construction is weekly inspections.
We have received a lot of very detailed
Yes.
inspection reports. They're excellent.
Thank you.
That's great. All right. Ed, anything further? No. Sarah, can you think of anything at this one? Rob?
Is this right in the area of the proposed transfer station? Where we went on the visit, is it
The new
nearby?
substation?
Yeah, the substation. Just sort of curious, because I know
Where we went on the site visit?
It's
Yeah, off Main Street?
not too far, but
It was the end of
not
Sierra
too
Lane,
spot.
wasn't it?
Unrelated work?
Or someone,
It was
is it
unrelated.
someone in that area?
Unrelated.
This is located at the end of
Okay.
Sierra Lane, yes, in the
Right, yeah, but this
It's
is,
where it's
Yeah.
where we've been.
we've been in this area. sort of,
Yes.
I think I remember seeing orange fencing
Right.
in there when we went by. Yeah.
All right. Kent? Eileen, this is done under the river, it's a riverfront area.
Yes.
Under a determination, is there a requirement to ask an applicant for improvements to the riverfront? Now, I'm saying that, but I don't remember too much was amiss in the area.
I think that's a reasonable thing to do when they're making significant changes, but this is a very minor project in the grand scheme of things. They're moving things around.
Well, I have to tell you, I didn't see a lot that I could think of that
That
we
they
could
could
ask for.
do?
That we could ask for.
They've been protecting, as she said, that they put fencing around the area where the sedge or whatever it is, that's the protected species is. I'm not sure there's very much that they could do out in that area.
Well, let me ask our environmental engineer here. Is there anything that you would offer that Eversource could do, you can think of, to improve the area?
So typically, that's part of Eversource's mission anyways, is to try to improve things where we can. In this particular area, we would probably use something like a conservation blend or one of the native seed mixes from, say, New England Plants Incorporated to try to bring in some like pollinator habitat and small critters, if you will, habitation there, but it is a disturbed right-of-way. The old switches are being restored to vegetation, and we will be seeding with sort of like this blend of conservation mix, and also it's kind of a dry, sandy site, so we're going to throw in some vegetation that roots good in there, so everything will be stabilized quickly.
I liked what you said about a pollinator blend. Did we put that in the last determination?
I don't think so. It's typical practice for us to use the conservation blend, so which has
Do you object if
multiple.
we put that in the decision?
I think it may have been in their actual project description, so, right, Dorothy? So,
I can double check. Let me just look
So
through
we would
if we
just look at it
specified
as-
I mean, I'd like to capture what you said. to
seed
be honest with you.
blend. I'm just looking through to see if we called out a specific blend.
I mean, is it a special blend, or is it just a conservation mix, like you said?
We typically use a conservation blend. So there's a couple.
Does that encourage pollinating flora?
It typically has some, flora and fauna. It's not just all grass usually. It's got, off the top of my head.
Yeah,
oh,
like
yeah,
Susan
black-eyed Susan.
oxeye, some flowering plants in there.
So,
I might, let me just see if I can find the blend for you.
Yeah, it's a New England wetland plant, conservation seed mix, wildlife conservation seed mix.
okay, so, do we have to,
So
mention should we mention anything about it, Eileen, or?
we can put it in if you like, but I know that we've been very confident about what they've been doing out there so far.
Right,
They're detailed plans, reports that we're getting.
yeah.
If you wish.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to use that seed mix, regardless, so, I mean, you can certainly put it in if you'd like, but we're going to use that anyway. That's our standard seed mix that we use on right-of-ways,
Well,
so.
we have that on the record, the hearing's being recorded. We got that. All right, so I think that's fine.
We can add a quick thing easily.
Yeah, that's
if you want while we're going through.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, so are you through going through the decision?
Well, we haven't looked at the decision yet.
We're not yet, we haven't looked at it, let's look at it then.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, if everyone's okay with that. Right.
okay. Here we go.
So Dorothy gave me some fixes earlier today, and Dorothy, you also told me you fixed a typo, but I wasn't sure where that was. So if you want to tell me as we're going through, I'll fix it, whatever it was.
Okay. I did notice, I think riverfront area should be capitalized in the second paragraph. And then the other one was in condition 5. I think
Okay.
those were the two that I noticed. Yeah.
Area? Where are we?
It's under jurisdictional area within
Oh, well-
riverfront area.
We usually don't capitalize, I think, when it's our regulatory.
Oh, for the regular,
It really doesn't matter.
the local
It is-
regulation.
It is still riverfront area. Okay, the applicant proposed to replace 2 4-pole wood structures with 2 2-pole steel structures on concrete foundations and a 2-pole intermediate structure, and install a 4-inch fiber conduit in an existing transmission right-of-way. This is one of the parts I added. Just explained that a negative determination for this project was issued in September 21. The project involved a multi-step process for installation of the switches, requiring new designs and testing and commission procedures. As such, the project has not yet been completed, and since there is no extension process for determination, a new application was filed to complete the project. The monopole structures and conduit were located within the 100-foot buffer to bordering vegetated wetlands and within the riverfront area to a tributary of Maple Meadow Brook, locally regulated only. Work would be approximately 20 feet from the wetland. The commission found, and still finds, that the installation of fiber, conduit, and replacement of the monopole structures would not detrimentally affect the nearby stream or BVW. Commission is not formally approving the exact boundary of the wetland resource areas. Voting to issue a negative determination of applicability for work in right-of-ways 5 and 9. This decision is only for the project described above. Prior to beginning any construction site, sediment barriers shall be installed and inspected. As Dorothy described, these were already done and inspected by John Keeley. All excavated soil should be disposed of in a legal manner. No tracking of sediments onto public roadways shall be allowed. And if tracking occurs, please sweep daily. There was a slight change here because, as Dorothy reminded everybody.
Sorry.
Oh,
I thought you were asking me.
that, oh, wait a second, did I miss something?
No, the other thing that I had mentioned in the previous email was references the S to a D. I think that's the only other, I'm trying to remember what I wrote in the email.
That's funny, I thought I had already fixed this. Referenced plans, I mustn't have saved it.
Referenced, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. All
And
right,
then,
yeah, okay.
We removed the part about there should be no filling or grading. As she was describing, there was what we called an MEC for a little bit of extra work that was happening that did effectively mean filling and grading. But all existing drainage patterns will be maintained, and it will not increase the rate or volume of runoff to other properties. Do you want me to add in something right here? Because this was where it could go about the conservation seed mix.
Sure, why not? Since we had so much conversation about it.
So it'll just be something like conservation seed mix shall be used to restore whatever areas, okay? To
Any
restore-
disturbed areas. Yep.
Are you okay with that, Dorothy? Does that just work? Simple? Conservation
Yes.
seed mix shall be used to restore disturbed areas. There should be no dewatering on site until the Conservation Commission has reviewed and approved a dewatering plan. No cutting of trees without prior notification and consultation with the department. Copies of weekly inspection reports shall be forwarded to the Conservation Department, well, weekly or monthly, however often they are. And then members of the commission or their representatives may go on site just to make sure all of these conditions are being complied with.
All right, so did you have any changes, you folks, from Eversource?
I did not.
Okay.
I don't know.
How about,
Matt or Dave?
how about the commission? Any comments from anyone? One question before we move on with it.
Yep.
The work is being done 30 feet from the wetlands. Do we need to waive the no-build rule that we have? Or it doesn't apply because it's in the right-of-way?
It's not so much that, but I'm not sure the build work was happening. Dorothy, can you just remind me, some work was happening within 30 feet of wetlands, but was any construction work happening within 30 feet of wetlands, or was it just
It's just a fence line.
moving things and fences? Right, it wasn't a build.
So there's no building,
Right,
which is why we call it a no-build zone.
right.
Okay. I think I understand. All right. All right, so if there's nothing further from the commission, could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the project on the utility right-of-way near Wind Street for Eversource Energy to replace switch structures with steel structures and install a fence under Burlington Bylaw Article 14, and is it under it's under the state, too? Wetlands Protection Act?
Yes, it is.
And under the State Wetlands Protection Act. Is there such a motion? Second? All in favor? 500. You're all set, folks. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
thank you.
everybody. Have a
Have a
great
good night.
evening.
All right, have a good evening. We're on 5D, notice is given. The commission will hold a public meeting during which time we have a request for determination of applicability filed by Victor and Michelle Ramirez for construction of a residential addition within a locally regulated riverfront area at 31 Dolores Drive in Burlington, and will thereafter issue a determination. The application is being heard under both the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14. And again, a copy of the application may be obtained by writing to conservation@burlington.org. Someone here for that one? All right, thank you for being so patient. All right, so you saw how the other ones went. You just introduce yourselves.
Okay.
You state your address, if that's where you live, and then you can say as much as you want as a summary about what you're proposing to do.
I'm Michelle Ramirez, that's Victor Ramirez. We live at 31 Dolores Drive in Burlington, and we are requesting to build a garage over the existing driveway.
Right, and you already marked it out for us when
Yes.
we were there. Okay. Eileen or Lucy, do you want to say anything about this one?
Okay, so it's, this is work in riverfront area. It's of a locally regulated stream, and typically, we would require a notice of intent for work in the riverfront, but for two reasons, we didn't, well, for a couple, probably more than two. The addition is only going over existing driveway, so they're not adding any additional impervious, they're not removing any trees, and the work is around about 125 feet, we think, from the stream. So we felt that this warranted an application, but it could be done under a request for determination of applicability. They're not proposing any work beyond the back of the house. They initially were considering putting a small addition on the back as well, but they have dropped that plan, so the only work is no closer than existing. So therefore, as I said, we felt it was suitable to do under request for determination of applicability, and given the circumstances, we do not have any issues.
And is a regulated stream,
It is a regulated stream.
and it's riverfront area,
Yes.
and bordering vegetative wetland at the back.
The bordering vegetated wetland is only really directly associated with that stream. It's quite, the banks are quite steep, and we've been out in that area before. There's really only wetland associated with the banks.
All right, thank you. Kent, any comments on this? Rob, anything?
It looks like it's not any further back, so.
Sarah?
No concerns.
Ed?
I suspect that where that's going to be added on it, all the asphalt is going to be removed from the
Yes.
property.
Yeah. Anything else? No? I have no issues with this. It's a very straightforward project,
Yes.
to be honest.
Okay.
So is there anyone else that has any comment from anything? I don't think there's anyone here for that.
We should, it's not directly relevant to us, but I guess we could just mention that this does put it closer than is currently allowed to the side setback. So they are now going to have to go to the Board of Appeals. They have a denial letter from the building department, which allows them to then go to the Board of Appeals to request a variance to the side setback. But I don't exactly know their reasoning, but I guess they felt like they would just go ahead with this portion of the process as well. It probably makes their case a little stronger for, I don't know how Board of Appeals feels about this.
Yeah, normally they want you to show some kind of hardship in order to grant it. In other words, they will ask you, they'll tell you probably that they're required to look at hardship, and they'll ask you if, so you ought to think about it.
Okay.
But regardless, it was going to be an RDA for us anyway.
Right.
So I would just kind of mention that.
That doesn't put any restrictions on us approving it, like the Board of Appeals?
No, that's not really directly relevant to us. I mentioned it, I think, possibly in the description, but you're really only looking at the interests of the Wetlands Protection Act and our bylaw.
All right, unless there's something further, we have a draft negative conditional determination. It offers a few conditions to adhere to, and then the project is essentially approved from our point of view. So we're going to review it and then vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, as you heard me do with everybody else, we just do a quick review and then go through the conditions fairly fast. And you saw the draft earlier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You showed them.
The applicant proposed to construct a 27 by 24.5 addition to an existing family house. The addition would be over an existing asphalt driveway. Work would be within locally regulated riverfront area. The applicant is applying to the Board of Appeals for a variance to the setback limits for this addition. The closest work was approximately 125 feet from the stream. The commission did not formally approve the exact boundaries of the wetland resource areas on site. And this work will only be for work as described in this application for work at 31 Dolores Drive, with conditions that include erosion controls in the form of 9-inch straw wattles with a silt fence or compost tube shall be installed between The house and stream no closer than 50 feet from the stream, so give yourselves enough room to work, but absolutely no closer than 50 feet from the stream. All construction and or demolition materials and excavated soil shall be disposed of off-site in a legal manner and not placed beyond the erosion control boundary. No stockpiling of soil or other materials within 50 feet of the wetlands. Do you mind if I add the bit in there that we forgot to do, which we're trying to make standard, and no closer than 20 feet from the roadway? Thank you. Because that's part of the issue that you saw today, even though it was on. Thank you. I'll fix it better when we're closer than 20 feet, okay, et cetera. No tracking of sediments onto public roadways shall be allowed, and in the event tracking does occur, sediments shall be swept from the roadway daily. Applicant shall consult with conservation staff before any proposed tree work, like we covered in the previous one. Don't dump lawn clippings or debris or sediment into the wetland or stream, and don't use pesticides, fungicide, or herbicides within 100 feet of the wetlands or stream.
The commission have any changes or edits to this? No. Okay, so I guess then if there's nothing further, I could consider a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the proposed project at 31 Dolores Drive under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and the State Wetlands Protection Act. Second? All right, all those in favor? 500, it's unanimous. You're all set.
Thank you. I have a question, but you might tell me that you can't answer it today.
Sure.
In regards to a different issue, seeing our yard and where everything is, would it be possible to apply for a pool permit, or are we not in that boundary, or?
Well, I think the first answer, Eileen, is yes, you can apply,
Yes.
right? And then, is there any guidance that we need to give her, if we would want to give her?
Well, it would require another approval process, possibly like you did now, but if you're proposing, we sometimes have to weigh these things up. Usually anything within 100 feet of a riverfront, we require a notice of intent. So
Okay.
it might have to depend on what exactly it is you're proposing and how close it is to your house.
Okay.
Maybe we can, if you bring it as close to the house as possible, perhaps you could do it under the same, a similar process, which is very simple, you can do yourselves.
The only caveat is, there's usually a lot of fill that is generated, a lot of stockpiles when you build a pool. Is this an in-ground pool?
It would be a small one, yeah, small one.
An in-ground pool?
Yes.
Ingram pool, yeah.
Yeah. Usually there's a lot of stuff dug out for a pool, so, maybe might need a notice of intent, depending on where it's...
It would depend on where
it's
it is.
located, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the answer to your question is, yes, you can apply.
Okay,
I think the only thing to tell you about is that if it's a notice of intent process, it's a little bit longer process to get the permit.
okay,
It's at least usually 2 meetings, and you have to notify your neighbors, and you have to, it's a little bit more expensive, but
okay.
I'm not sure, if you're putting in a pool, I'm not sure that's relevant compared to the cost of the pool. They're pretty expensive.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just wanted some information. so
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we voted, right? We're all set?
We voted yes.
And so that means you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, next, item number 6, it's a public hearing. Notice is given that we will hold a public hearing, and we will take all information related to a notice of intent filed by Scott Peacock for the demolition of a dwelling and construction of a new dwelling located at 35 County Road in Burlington. The proposed work is within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington's Bylaw Article 14. The commission will review all information relative to the application and may issue an order of conditions and a Burlington Wetlands permit. This application is available for viewing the details by going to the commission's website, and there is a link to the application package. All right. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Very good.
Good to see you.
You too.
So you guys know the drill. You guys start.
Let's do it.
Introduce yourselves and then talk.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, Stephen Dresser, Dresser Williams and Way, representing SJ Peacock Builders of, Scott Peacock is the owner, on the matter before you. The applicant has applied to demolish the existing house at 35 County Road and construct a new single-family home with associated driveways and utilities. The project is subject to the Wetland Protection Act because there's a jurisdictional isolated wetland to the rear of the property. The project is also subject to the stormwater management, for a stormwater management permit, which has also been applied for already. All the work will occur outside of the 20-foot from the wetlands. There are no intent to cut any trees. He has had a tree hearing with the town because he wants to trim a few of the trees, and they want to make sure that he does that right, but there'll be no trees cut on the property whatsoever. The house will be, the proposed house will be 50 feet from the wetlands, so it's well outside the 40-foot requirement. The existing house is actually 38 feet from the wetlands, so we are moving that 12 feet further than the existing home. There will be drainage as required. There's a stone trench that the driveway runoff will go to, which contains a perforated pipe, which will in turn flow to the infiltration system in the back. The front of the house is designed to just come overland, and everything is graded again to that driveway, into the trench, and then back to the infiltration system. The rear of the house will have gutters, which will be directed also to that infiltration system. There's a slight reduction in both rate and volume of runoff for the storms from the 2-year storm to the 100-year storm. And, there's no drainage attenuation whatsoever now, so we'll be providing groundwater recharge as well. Erosion control will be placed around the entire limit of work, and we'll just go from there. So any questions, we'll be glad to answer them.
Great. Thank you for that summary. Eileen or Lucy, talk about,
We're still breaking Lucy in, so we're just going to,
yeah,
we're not making her talk just yet.
that's all right. I don't want her to know
Maybe the
that,
next
I don't
meeting.
want her to feel like I'm purposely excluding you. That's the reason I keep calling on you. And anytime you want to say something, you obviously are.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
She's not going to be shy. Okay. As usual, Steve's explanation is comprehensive and pithy at the same time, which I appreciate very much. So as he mentioned, he said there's an isolated wetland in the back. I sort of disagree with that. I think that it's probably a bordering vegetated wetland in that it's connected to something else. They really have to demonstrate that it's an isolated wetland, which is usually a smaller feature. So I suggested, and they agreed, that this should go to the state as well. If it was just an isolated wetland, it would only be under the bylaw. But they've chosen to
So
send it to the state
there's no
as
reason
well.
to debate it as long as it goes to the state.
Right. There's really no, we're just going to assume it's bordering vegetated wetland. I think that it is connected to wetlands that I guess are, do I mean north? What direction is that?
West, really.
Sorry, west?
Yeah.
I guess west.
Northwest?
That were probably cut off by Clifford Road when that was built. The actual circle there is raised considerably higher than a lot of the surrounding properties. So it is probable that the wetland got cut off, and it's connected to something that's further back behind there. But anyway, so there is a wetland behind. As you all know, the trees out front and at the side were the subject of a tree hearing, since they're considered shade trees, they're in the right-of-way. But I think it was a fruitful hearing, and Scott and the tree warden agreed that he would have a certified arborist give a second opinion about the trees, but that at the moment it's felt that they can just be trimmed, which will suit everybody if they're just trimmed and the house goes ahead that way. And as Steve described, the stormwater will be an improvement. I haven't really had a solid good look at the stormwater report yet, but it seemed totally fine, as he described, going into a trench and then routed to the infiltration system at the back. Can you just remind me, though, since I don't have it up here, what did the test pits show? How deep is the groundwater there?
3.5 feet.
So are you able,
There's water at 157.6?
Yeah, test hole was 161.3. We're going to have to bring it up.
you're going to
and
raise it
grade
for the
over it.
infiltration system a little bit?
Yeah, we'll have to, yeah.
What are we saying here?
It's designed to have fill, so they're going to have to, in order to get the
Right.
appropriate size infiltration system and the separation of groundwater, we're going to have to be a little bit out of the ground, so we'll have to fill over
Well,
it.
there's about 3.5, looks like there's, what, 3.5 feet now?
To groundwater?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the system, it's, so you get your 2 feet to separation from the groundwater to the bottom of the system.
Right, and then the system takes up, what,
system is-
18 inches or 2 feet?
No, it's actually 2.5 feet.
So 2.5 plus 2, you need
4.5, so it'll be a
4.5.
foot out of the ground, 6 inches of
So you
cover.
need 4.5 total.
Yes.
Okay, so you raise it up a little bit.
To be honest, I'm not too concerned about being 2 feet over groundwater, just because it's, rooftop water is pretty clean. So, but I'm also happy with the fact that you've already designed this. I'm not suggesting you change it
If you-
at this point.
If it were just the rooftop, it would meet the, really the definition of a dry well, which you would not need a separation, but it does have driveway runoff.
Oh, right, because it's going into the stone trench first and then back.
Yes, yeah. so
Well, then.
Is the stone
forget it
trench
for then.
connected to the,
It is.
oh, it is, I see.
It is, it's
That
connected.
explains what you're saying.
Connected.
Okay.
But, no, I have nothing further to add unless you have questions something that I missed.
All right, so let's go around the room and see if there's anything else. Ed, is there anything else on this one?
Just curiosity, it was 38 feet from the wetland that you mentioned on the existing house, and then even the new one's 50?
Yes.
Is that moving it towards the street?
It's kind of moving it away, and I think the existing house might have got kind of grayscaled out of this, so I'll put that on the plan when we come back with the revisions. But it's really kind of moving, back towards Cambridge Street and north a little bit. It has a little entryway on the back.
Yeah, it's got a bump out on the back of
And a
the
bump out,
existing.
and
We can share
that's
some
what gets
pictures of
proposed.
what's just existing at the moment, if it helps them to visualize. Lucy's just going to share what I said.
From a design standpoint, what we tried to do was hold the driveway location, because then you don't have to worry about the trees and such.
Because as you look at it from the front backwards, it's like there's a large shrub line behind the house. You plan on affecting that at all?
No, we do not.
That's all I have.
All right, Sarah.
What's going to be the closest impervious structure to those two hickories in the front?
Well, the setback is 25 feet, and those are within the right-of-way, so greater than 25 feet.
So you don't have any concerns about damaging the roots and having them,
No, not
Why?
the roots. I think he's trimmings. You
Yeah.
wanna explain that?
In the hole that's already dug there is going to be, we're going to be working right off of that, basically.
We're coming a little bit closer.
Yeah,
So,
right,
so he'll,
So you wouldn't
I think he wants to trim some of the branches.
Yeah, that's we've already gone through that. So
Yeah,
there's
we've gone through
one
that.
one limb in particular that comes out over.
Right.
it,
Yeah.
so-
Yeah, there's one large limb, and you're going to get an opinion from an arborist, and
I think
guy
he's,
says you can cut, I guess, right?
right.
Exactly.
And on site, when you're the arborist, so he told me.
The arborist is going.
Yeah, the arborist will be on
Yeah,
site.
there'll be
before-
a meeting with him and, an approval letter, basically just stating
Right,
what he found and what he wants us to do.
all
I
right.
think Sarah's particularly concerned about the root system.
Yeah, I understand with the tree, but I feel like there's abundance. It's not really, like I said, we're going to be taking that house down and we're going to be working off of that. We're not going to really come that close to the root system of the tree.
All right. All right, Rob.
So one thing, I'm in a butter, so I'd probably abstain from this, but just from what Eileen said about there is a culvert under Clifford Road in the back of the property that crosses, that goes into, across the street to 31 County Road as well. It's sort of way back there in the corner, and there is some water that does
Okay.
pass through there.
So it is connected,
It is connected.
all right.
Are you
That would
saying
make it a bordering
a
vegetated wetland.
culvert or
There's a pipe that's about this big.
Is it a storm drain, though, or is it actually, no, I
I
mean,
think it goes right through.
okay, all right. no,
It's probably, they probably filled the wetland and way back when.
probably did.
And probably laid that pipe there just to say, hey, let's
Yeah,
do the right thing. And
I've
Let's
heard.
move that water everywhere, that pesky water.
I've heard that originally it was like an apple orchard or something, and then when the homes in Clifford were constructed, it did push a lot of water all around the sort of surrounding area, like it moved.
the current condition would
Yeah.
probably back that up, yeah.
Kent? I think I only have one question, folks, is the driveway is supposed to flow into the stone trench. Do you need to have like either some grade, so who's ever doing the driveway, it draws attention to, or a note or something? I mean, I looked on the plan, I didn't see any note. So otherwise, once you get a driveway,
On the-
and
on
if
the-
it doesn't pitch at all to a stone trench, there's not much we can do about it after the fact.
I mean, on the plan view, there's a note to grade to the trench,
Is there?
yeah.
Okay.
And there are elevations on the detail.
Okay. So is anything more needed to draw attention to whomever is?
I don't believe so. I think we've been doing okay. This is not atypical, you know, it just has to make sure.
Yeah, I mean,
He's paying
it's pretty standard what we have to do now with almost every house we do, so everything has to pitch into that drain.
Got
And
it.
he did actually note it on there, so I think.
All right, got it.
I'm pretty comfortable with exactly how it's
It
going
is,
to go.
because we're tough.
Yeah, we're tough, okay, right.
Trust me, she's not going to let it go by without checking it.
Yeah, right. All right, thank you for that clarification. Okay, is there anything else?
I have a question and a comment.
Yes.
The comment is, they have actually received a DEP file number.
Yes.
However, we typically do not open and close in one meeting, as you know. But the question, which is related to that, is when are you having your arborist provide us that second opinion?
I think it's going to be next week, so we've been trying to, I'm doing this through my tree guy,
Right.
and I believe he's going to be out there next week, so.
Okay, so it's possible that you'll have a letter in time for the next meeting, and then
Yes.
we can
Oh, definitely.
include that as part of this process,
Yep.
and then we'll put that into the decision.
Absolutely.
Okay,
All right.
good with that.
So I didn't, Mr. Dresser, did you hear anything that needs to be attended to?
I'm going to, it appears that Eileen's correct, it's going to be a bordering vegetated wetland.
Right.
We're going to change that on the plan.
And-
We're gonna put the existing house
The
footprint.
old
on the
house
plan.
grayed out? right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and that's about it. I didn't see.
That's about it. And I'll
didn't see
go out and
anything
look for
else.
that culvert and
Right.
see if that belongs on the plan as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that anyone heard, Eileen, that they, I don't want them to, oh, you didn't do this. I mean,
No, I think it's pretty straightforward, and Scott and Peacock have both, Scott and Peacock, I'm sorry, Scott and Steve have both done this a lot of times, so they kind of know what they're doing.
I'm aware of that, yes. Anything else, folks? All right, so we'll see you at September 12th, I believe is the next meeting.
Okay.
And we'll just plan to close the hearing and issue it.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Good, thanks very much. Take
Yep.
care.
Have a good night.
You too. Okay. All right, next, planning board comments. Is there anything for the planning board?
No, I don't think we do, no.
No. Subcommittee and staff reports.
I don't think we have anything other than maybe just to Larry and Bill and John Keeley and I and Lucy have been working on just doing a little work on the stormwater bylaw and possible stormwater regulations. So I think we'll bring something to you guys pretty soon. Maybe the next meeting, September?
Yeah, the strategy of what's being proposed is to take all the detail, the technical details, the performance details, and put it into regulations, which is where it belongs. And we'll create a set of regulations for the stormwater bylaw, just as the state does with their law, and they have a set of regulations, just as we have done with our wetlands bylaw. We have a bylaw and a set of regulations. And so we're trying to set it up the same way.
Right, so what we would initially bring to you is a very, very simple, much simpler bylaw, just to say, this is what we're proposing to bring to town meeting.
And then as backup, we'll have a draft of what we take out of the current bylaw,
Exactly,
putting it into regulations.
right.
Then, if at some point we're considering changes to our regulations, we will advertise hearings, and we will have open a hearing, and we will let people know, and we will have a draft out there to discuss, and it will be over a number of meetings.
Right, we'll take our time.
We'll take our time with it, make sure we get all the input from whoever might be affected.
Right.
All right. All right. So that's under...
That was just staff reports and
Staff
comments,
reports.
updates.
Okay, here's this one. All right, next we have, let's see, other business. Let's see what we have. All right.
I'd just like to add that I really appreciated going to that last session we had yesterday on the well.
Yes, would you like to talk about it?
I'm impressed about not knowing something at all about what that whole area was.
You want to explain where we went?
It was a walkthrough, probably should have wore better shoes. But,
Oh, no, did they get ruined?
little puddle here or there. You know, I'm a short guy, I don't want to drown. You know?
And we don't want you to drown.
But what my impression first was this long boardwalk going out. I thought it was like overkill, then I realized after I got other people filling in the blanks, that trucks would go out up there to service the area and whatnot.
Yeah, let me just interrupt a second. What we're talking about, in case people are not familiar, is behind the Islamic Center, there is a pathway or a dirt roadway that leads out to an award-winning bridge that was constructed for the purposes of installing a public water supply well. And that was our main drinking water, public water supply. And that bridge is in existence, what is it, 100 feet maybe? All of that. And if you go out there, which the public has not had access to for the last 70 years, going out there, even though the well was installed and the bridge was installed sooner than that. But because a requirement of a drinking water supply is you can't have people going out there where you draw your water from. And so it's been off limits to the public for all these years. And so what we have in the center of town is a virgin natural habitat of over 200 acres in the dead center of town with mostly wildlife and wetlands vegetation. And when you go out to the end of that bridge, essentially, you would find it hard to believe that you are still in Burlington. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with that. That's why I think it was so impressive. Not knowing there's even a river that's going through it, once you stand up on the side rails, and you can kind of look down and see where it all goes. It's just a flat land of green, like forever it's going on. I was very impressed.
And let's go to Sarah. Sarah, you were there. Were you as fascinating and as impressed and incredulous that such a thing exists in Burlington?
Absolutely. I'm torn between the desire to keep it a secret and to tell everybody. Well, I guess people are watching this hearing, so
Now they know.
now they know.
All right.
We have got to make this something that we can all use and enjoy and take care of. That's my takeaway.
All right. And do you have something in mind?
I do, as a matter of fact. We have a vision of some form of a river walk where people can walk along and enjoy this for themselves. Realize what a treasure we have right in the middle of our town that none of us knew about.
However, there is one obstacle. There is 3
Oh, yes.
semi-ugly radio frequency towers. Well, I don't know if they're
They
cute or
have
not.
visual interest, but they're very unnatural. And I followed up on what Rob said about there being fascinating electrical conductors underneath the wetland, which add to the transmitting power of the antennas, which make it a little dangerous. So that adds a wrinkle to people using the space.
Right. So needless to say, we will continue to dream and explore possible ways and even a conceptual route where we might do something. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. A lot of potential.
All right. Kent, you weren't there, but I don't know if you have any comment on this subject.
Probably go take a second look at it.
It would be worth your while for us to drag yourself out there. We'll have to arrange for that. Anytime you have time, we will get you out there. All right, Rob, you were there. Would you like to offer some adjectives of
Yeah.
support for how beautiful it was?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really surprised that, it's down in the major commercial area of town, that there's this sort of green open space that definitely rivals the Mass Audubon Sanctuary in Concord. I think Minuteman National Park in Lexington has a boardwalk as well, but it's quite short. And this just sort of, like, I can't think of much in sort of like a natural state of an area. I mean, I think of like Horn Pond in Woburn, or just sort of like natural areas that the community can enjoy. It's just, it's a really beautiful spot for, that would have possibilities for recreation.
Passive recreation.
Education for the schools, or Burlington Science Center. And it could be something too that it could have an economic benefit as well. Like if people are, coming downtown at the mall, and across the street, there's also like a large natural area. I think it's something that would be, really interesting for people who come to the town for, business or shopping, and the residents as well.
So the next step in this very preliminary process to use that area for something involves laying out a possible path. It involves talking to any private property owners that you might have to looking at financing to see if there's grants available to help pay for it. I think it would be a heavy burden to, even if we had permission from property owners, to get town meeting to put together $3 to $5 million for a boardwalk. That would be difficult, probably. So the only thing I would add, and we're on the public record here saying this, is if there's people in our community that have an interest in this kind of thing, is looking at grants or have technical expertise that they can think of that would help us lay out a very preliminary way to traverse through this area, I think we would like to hear from you. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
I mean,
the large thought process I was trying to figure out how much wildlife was really there. I'm looking at birds that come out of nowhere. I don't know, what were you looking in the water for? What was the, as you started to walk in?
There was I saw hawks. There was some type of freshwater snail. I'm not sure exactly what it was. It's a muskrat, just a whole variety of birds, insects, monarchs. I tried to, I didn't see any bridled shiners, but I'm sure they're in there somewhere. But yeah, it seems to be almost overflowing with.
So again, so if there's anyone listening to this who thinks they may have an interest, may have some expertise about helping to lay out a path and helping to figure out how something would be constructed, how to pay for it would be nice. If you have any interest in dealing with these kind of subjects, I think the commission, Eileen, and I in particular would very much like to hear from you.
Can you talk to other towns, see if they have something similar at this point?
Well, as a matter of fact, I have sent a letter, a note, to the Waltham Land Trust. The reason I picked Waltham Land Trust is because Sarah made me aware of one of the properties that they are land stewards for, which happens to be called the Western Greenway. The Western Greenway is something that has been put together, I'll use the word, has stitched together a number of properties to get our property owner agreements so that trails can be put through and sort of link up or connect a bunch of small properties with trails from property to property to property. Is that a fair characterization of the Western Greenway?
Yes, we lived in Waltham for years, and it wasn't tragically before this was made available. But they found this thin green line through a lot of Waltham, connecting parcels and getting permission from property owners who have left pretty, salty signs saying, stay on the trail. Like, you can tell when you're in somebody's backyard who's not thrilled about this being there, but everybody cooperated, and it's a wonderful resource. It's quite a narrow trail. It's not ADA compliant, not even close. I don't know quite what the scope is of what we're dreaming. It's more a hiking path or mountain biking. People take their dogs. But it's very popular and a lot of fun to use.
So I was thinking that I would, if I get a positive response, I would schedule, I was thinking either an in-person meeting or probably what's most convenient for everyone is a Zoom meeting. And people who have an interest on the commission or our staff has an interest and they want to listen to the advice, the guidance, or any direction to put us towards for a project like this. They've done something similar, and we should not have to reinvent the wheel because I'm not quite sure where to begin. There's just so much to look at. So they've done this, and we'll hook you folks up with, try to schedule something that's convenient to everybody. Okay? Whoever wants to listen. Okay? We can always report on it, of course, after the fact as well. All right. So that's all I have. Is there anything else? Upcoming meetings are September 12th, 2024, and the next one is September 26th, 2024. Of course, if you can't make it to the meeting, please let at least Eileen and Lucy know, and/or Lucy. Is there anything else, Eileen?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
All right, then could I have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission? Second?
Second.
All in favor? 500. This meeting is adjourned. Good evening.
I'm just looking at this, and there's just an awful lot of people's private property along the edge.
I looked at it too.
The other edge has the green
You also.
stuff that seems to belong to.